This is a Geek Leader podcast, and I'm your host, John Rauda. This show is all about helping us grow as leaders, become better technologists, and improve our lives both at work and at home. I hope you enjoy the show and learn a lot. Welcome to a Geek Leader podcast. I'm your host, John Rauda. And if you could, please do me a favor and take a moment and leave a rating and review in whatever podcast player you're listening to this on, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, doesn't matter. I would greatly appreciate it. And that feedback really helps get other listeners to the show. Also, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And if you feel so inclined, you can go to geekleader.com/tip and donate to the show. Thanks so much. All right, Geek Leaders, today I'm honored to have Ekaterina Gorbacheva on the show. She is the Global Expansion Director at Udora, which is a fast-growing gifting platform. So we're going to talk a lot about that today and how she got there and what her path has been like through Chief Product Officer and building products and how we can get into doing that as well if we need to. Anyway, with all that being said, welcome to the show.
Hey, John, I'm glad to be here today. Let's dive in.
Yeah, if you don't mind, just tell us, the audience, a little bit about your background, how you got into this, just to lay some context for our conversation.
Yeah, so today, like as you mentioned, I'm the Global Expansion Director, traveling the world, doing a lot of public speaking in probably all the conferences in the world, and basically sharing about like how to scale to global markets. Because Udora is their global gifting and flowers marketplace. And if you want to send flowers to New York or Dubai, Udora is the platform you go to. But previously, actually, my experience was very diverse. I worked both with corporates and startups. I used to have my startup in Shanghai. I was a co-founder, and we had a pet sitting platform, and it was quite cool. We went through China Accelerator program, and I had all this Silicon Valley life, where you basically need to build a product, launch it in 2 months, and you have limited resources, limited money, and it was quite a journey. Then I worked with Apple, with Campina, with many different big brands and small brands, and as a result, I ended up in Udora, where we already go into scaling. So that's, I feel like an interesting step, like I got into my career.
So one question that I have is when you're scaling a product or a company like Udora, how important is it to have that local flavor and be localized?
That's crucial, I would say. That's one of the things that actually got me to Udora. Like it was quite a funny story because my friend actually was working in the company in marketing department, and she was keep telling me about like the things that it was so troublesome to set the operations, get synced with the teams. Sometimes it like many companies that are going into the same problem. I'm being like explicitly honest with you here. But when she shared for me, I was like, okay, guys, you just need to localize. You just need to set up the process. She was like, yeah, but I'm doing performance marketing. It's not a part of my job, which was quite hilarious for me. As a result, she referred me and I got into the team. And the first step when we started actually localization was to make sure that the whole company is aware of what localization is. Because a lot of companies just taking it as you just translate the website, you're good to go. But they are missing the parts where people in different countries have different digital behavior. And that's like a huge impact on localization when you enter in the market. So when we're speaking about like go-to-market strategies, you need to be aware what is the digital behavior on this market, what is their authorization methods, what are their payment methods, what about how many clicks they like need to go through for registration. Because for example, in the States, like I would say in some platforms still like you spend like 10 pages on registration, and you're like, okay, it's a process, now it's getting better, but it's still there. If you speak about China, it's insane, it's impossible, nobody would ever buy from your website if you have that long registration. It's just one click, that's it. And you need to know these details about when you're like scaling globally. And this is one part about the product. Second part is localizing your marketing. And there you must be aware of the culture. It sounds simple when you speak about it because a lot of people like, oh, I know that like in Spain, for example, they speak Spanish and they like to go out. They're outgoing people. But is it really like everything you need to know about the culture, or is there more? What is their cultural differences inside the country? Because even in Spain, there were a lot of different regions, and people share different habits, different even different holidays. Same goes to United States, to Brazil. If we speak about Dubai, it's a completely different region. So you need to be aware of each aspect of their local culture when you are setting up your marketing campaigns, as otherwise you're going to be just wasting a bunch of money thinking that if you put your ad in Arabic, it's going to convert well.
So you talked a little bit about the culture and understanding the culture when you're marketing. Do you also need to know that when you're like hiring and expanding your resources? And if so, how do you learn about that culture so that you can incorporate that?
So there are like two strategies that companies usually go when they are scaling globally. Some companies are going with country managers, building local teams. I'm not a fan of such aspect because then you get into the point where you have like 1,000 of offices all around the world, and we have seen a lot of corporates like getting into this like massive expenses on resources, and then like thousands of people got fired because they cannot pay them. And that's like a big trouble they were creating by themselves, in fact. And in order not to get into this like corporate mistakes, in my opinion, the best way is to choose which teams are centralized and where you need locals. In our case, what we did, we hired local acquisition managers who talk to the local shops. For example, we are entering Spain. We need to get, let's say, 100 new shops on the platform in Madrid. We got a girl in Madrid, and she is content majority online, but she's a local. So that makes a big difference for people to communicate with her, to understand them, and also to make sure that uh, we in the team get to understand the market. So acquisition managers in our case are locals, and also copywriters, those who are writing our main message actually for marketing. The rest of the team are centralized. Brand team centralized, marketing team centralized, product same thing. Because imagine if you have 15 country managers, what are they going to do? Are they going to, oh, we need this in Brazil, and what, each of them going to go and set the tasks for the product team? It's impossible. Like it would never work. And that's my point. Like people think that if they get their like crazy good country manager, then it would just change the whole picture for them. But in reality, it would never work because the country manager would be suffocated by the fact that he wouldn't be able to set those tasks. So that's why like it's a no-go situation, in my opinion. Unless you have unlimited resources, you have unlimited money, cash, and you can just like go into it and have like 1,000 people. But how are you going to manage them then?
Yeah,
That's
that
a hard
can't be
thing.
profitable.
Exactly. So like I think it's a no-go thing. Like the way how we set up, like it allowed us actually to scale without overgrowing the team. And even now we are going further. We feel that okay, uh, our entire team is getting more and more things, tasks they need to do because like bigger you get, more tasks you get. This is like the common thing, and
Mhm.
it got to entire team. So we start optimization with AI, like everybody else. No, okay, everybody else who is updated basically,
Yeah.
and we like if you want, I can even share a cool thing which we just did a couple of weeks ago. For example, we have legal and finance team. Imagine guys who are literally not AI updated. Their
No.
go-to way was like go into one of the programmers and say, just hey, like, can you optimize this for me? Can you get that for me? And imagine the developers where these memes where like, oh, why my link is not working and it's a localhost link, like, and it's so we decided to actually train all our teams how they can by themselves optimize their own process with AI. We call
So
it like internal AI bootcamp.
Let me stop you right there. So is each training specific to that team? Like does finance have a different training than legal and so on and so forth?
Together, together.
All together. Okay.
Yeah, all together. So the way how it works, it's now like, I would say it's a trial.
Hmm.
It's not, we do not know if it's gonna work. I believe it will be, because it's not that complicated. People are just scared usually, especially who work with completely uh different, like in different industries. It seems hard for them. Like, oh my God, I am I gonna be coding? What is GitHub, you know?
Yeah.
And but then actually if you explain them in quite simple words, it's gonna work. And then once they have this sense of how AI can help them, when they start seeing it as a tool that is actually valuable for them, then that's going to change their whole picture. At least that's what I hope for.
Yeah, I know your example just it made me chuckle because we had a employee that we just rolled out Claude to some of them, and he sent me a message. He's like, "How do I install Docker?" I'm like, "Why do you need Docker?" He's like, "Oh, well, I was trying to get these. I wanted to analyze these spreadsheets, and Claude told me I should put them in a Docker." I was like, "Okay, you're in Claude Code. Switch over to Cowork and do it there. It's a lot easier." Yeah, but that training would have been very helpful, I think. So that's a good idea.
Yeah, it's, at least to understand the basics,
Hmm.
because people are not supposed, like, no, they don't need to become programmers, but like they don't need to know what Docker is.
Yeah, exactly.
But to understand the basic of, like, okay, I put this task into Claude, it tells me what to do, how to do step by step, and that actually can work for them. That's crazy beneficial in my opinion.
Yeah, one of the things that I always try to do with a lot of my processes is to ask for a step by step instruction, guide to talk to me as if it's my first day on the job, and the little things like that to make it as simple as possible, so that I don't get something that I just don't understand back.
That's true. And also I really like the one of the recent versions. Like I'm also using Claude. Like I moved from ChatGPT to Claude.
Hmm.
And I'm hearing many people have been doing the same. It's quite funny, like it's like a wave. And those who haven't yet, they're like, "Oh my God, do I need to ditch it too? Like, what am I supposed to do?" I was like, "I don't know. I decided to make this step like 3 months ago. Never regretted."
Yeah, me too. The only thing I go back to ChatGPT for is like images. If I want like a quick image editing or something like that, something graphical, it seems to be doing a pretty good job with that. But
I was just talking to our design team last week, and because we want to optimize the way how we are setting up email marketing, because one of my teams is CRM team. And I've noticed that we spend a lot of time on a, quite a simple task as getting the copy for the email, then put a design together, and then put into HTML, and then put it into Braze where we send emails. And it takes us like the whole tasks, each of them maybe take like half an hour, 1 hour for each person. But as a result, it goes to for like 2 weeks to make one email. I was like, it's a no go. Like we need to optimize it. So I got in on a call with the design team, and I was actually quite fascinated by the tools they're using. Unfortunately, I do not remember the exact tool right now, but I remember that it was with Google and Nana Banana,
Mhm.
and it was also a tool with like many different resources where the designers already set their prompts and how they put all together. So, like for images, maybe that would be like a better tool for to use. You can try it too.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out for sure. Because there's always a new tool. There's always something new, something fun to play around with and try to learn from. Where have you guys seen the biggest impact on your business when it comes to the use of automation or streamlining things when it comes to global expansion?
I need you to clarify the question. Like,
Okay, so like when it comes to like automating things that for example, if you're going to roll out a new location or something like that, and you said you had your local manager that's going to kind of find the shops and move stuff up, is there a way that you automate a lot of that process for that person so that they're there to build trust and to communicate, but do you have systems in place that automate some of that?
No, it's actually for us, it's a lot simpler because
Hmm.
like the beneficial thing of our platform is that we work with local shops. So we do not deal with like export, import, logistics, like any of that. And we have not implemented like logistics inside the platform yet, which might make the process harder, but we're not there yet, so it's fine. For example, we are right now testing Saudi Arabia. Seems like an interesting market. If you go to Dubai, everybody is speaking like Saudi, 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 like you hear it from everywhere else. Our first steps were, as I mentioned before, they're like not hiring their local manager, but actually first to see if our product was localized. So in Saudi Arabia, people do not speak English at most, but so we need Arabic. Arabic is a complicated language to add to the platform because it's the opposite direction,
Hmm.
So that was quite a challenge. And once we still needed it for Dubai, so it's fine. Like it wouldn't be a waste of time for us anyway. So we added Arabic to the platform. Then, uh, of course, like our legal team needed to check everything, how to set up the business, everything, like all of that. Then we simply started running performance ads to get the shops. And then this leads fall into the same admin for their acquisition manager who works with Dubai. And she just started working with Saudi. So basically, we didn't even get at this point a local manager because it's on testing. We do not know yet if like this market is going to be blooming for us because it's always a big question for companies who decide to enter new markets. You never know if it's going to be working for you, if your marketing going to be optimized, if your team going to be really updated about what's happening there, even if you have locals. There is still a very big human criteria, that
Hmm.
like one person often can ruin everything for their entire market. That's true. Like I've seen that happens in many companies. So that's why like you need to test first and see. Okay, are we able to get their first shops? Then are we able? Okay, let's say we get 20 shops. Right now we have 7 there. Then the next step would be, are we able to convert people in the platform? Are they gonna order flowers in Saudi Arabia through our platform, through Udora? And then if this happens, okay, are they gonna buy second time? How about retention? So once we confirm the steps, then we go into scaling, and then we're going to be talking about acquisition manager, local team, etc. But at this point, if you test the market, it's just unnecessary. I believe you always need to test with the as much limited resources as you can,
Yeah.
because it's not easy, but it's often too easy to hire the entire team. But then, what are you going to do with this team?
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like what you're saying is you got to create a minimal viable product first, validate it in that marketplace. And once you've had that validated and you see that you have good retention, you have people will actually order from you. You have shops that are willing to, sign up and do the delivery, and then you proceed to the next level.
Exactly, exactly. That's pretty much as you said. And like the next steps, we usually just add in the channels. So we have like SEO, then we have CRM, then we start like social media, then we start doing partnerships there, then PR, like and the performance marketing as well in the very beginning. So steps like more presence we have on the market, more channels we're using. Less presence we have on the market, less channels we're using. Like I'm very much into making sure that the market is workable for us, because if you try to scale the market that is not working, it's a waste of money and time. So that's why you have to be clear, very clear when you're ready to give up on the market and pivot, because there are like so many options you can do. Like I'm having a very startup mindset in general. And I believe that like you must have the long-term strategy, but you also must be flexible and not waste too much time and effort into something that is not working.
So how soon do you know whether it's working or not? Like, because some people feel like, there's that sunk cost fallacy. I spent so much time on this, I don't want to give up on it. Like if I'm starting a business, there's so many people that fall into that realm of, I'm building this thing, but it's not working. But maybe if I just stick with it a little bit longer and a little bit longer, and then they just, keep throwing money into a dying
No,
business.
it simply means they have money and time to waste.
Mhm.
A person who doesn't have money and time would never do that. So even if you have money and you have time, you still need to think from the point that what if I do not have it now?
Mhm.
What if black swan happens, what if something happens? Like maybe it's a little bit negative, but it's actually make you think in a different direction because you're constantly looking for new ways of how you can actually make it work. If you're doing the same thing and it's not working, come on, you're doing something wrong. It's very obvious. You need to be quick in decision making and be able to give up. Because as you said, a lot of people, I just did last Friday, I was giving a talk here for one of the tech communities in Madrid. And one guy, he shared his experience of he's a developer and he built a product. That's how he called it. He had a startup for 3 years and then it never worked. In reality, he didn't even have a startup. He had a small idea of making some tests for HR who never needed that. Then he wasn't able ever to get even $10 for it. And he called it a failed startup. In fact, and he was doing it for 3 or 4 years. It's insane. Imagine if he was doing something that was actually the people needed. It would be a completely different story, and the guy probably would make a bunch of money, you know? But he was so clear that he should make it work. It's a cool idea. You should never go with the cool idea mindset. You should go from, does it make money? Extremely simple.
Yeah, basically, is there a need for this product? And if there's a need, let's fill that need and make some money off of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if there is no need, what are you doing? Like, of course, there are like some unique products and ideas that people create, and it's completely disruptive. Like, and we have been seeing it for the past 15 years. But I have a feeling that the disruptive era is, especially after AI, it's kind of shifted, It's like
Yeah.
all AI is, especially now, like thousands of new products are being launched every single day. And imagine the number of ideas. So you only need to stick like to the ideas that are working.
Yeah, that is one thing. So have you seen a shift of, you mentioned thousands of products being launched every day. It seems like with AI, people are building tools and apps and websites so much faster than before. Is the market just getting saturated with a bunch of useless products?
Yeah, definitely. That's exactly what's happening, in my opinion. And the biggest problem, especially for people who are launching products, that many of them do not realize that they must know marketing. They must know how to market it because even if your product is amazing but nobody knows about it, you're not going. You're never gonna make it
Right.
work. So you have to be okay. You have an amazing idea. Okay, you do have the strategy to market it. If you do not have, find a partner who knows, who is also crazy about this idea. That would make a big difference because otherwise you're gonna be in this pool of have that product that nobody is using. What's the point of it?
No, I agree
Maybe
100%. I mean, you can have a great idea, but if nobody knows about it, then it's just an idea.
exactly. And I wonder, like, who is listening to us right now. But if there is a person who is about to build a product or is already like working on the product, like, guys, you need to know how to sell it, or you need to find a person who knows how to sell it. Like, that's the first thing that's necessary because nobody gonna ever find it.
Yep. You're 100% right, especially as crowded as the marketplace is getting today with other products and other ideas that are out there.
Exactly.
So what advice would you have to someone that's interested in maybe becoming a CPO or getting into the the entrepreneurship game today and pivoting and starting their own business?
just go for it. Like the way how I got my first CPO position was very simple. I built a first pet adoption platform in China because I got adopted a dog and I was crazy about volunteering. And funny enough, 6 months later, there was an ad that probably like 15 friends of mine sent to me that a pet sitting company are looking for CPO and CTO. They were looking for CTO, actually. And everybody referred to me because it was a great match. I was caring a lot about pets, and that's a pet sitting company that actually can make some good for it. I was like, oh, amazing. So I was really passionate about the product. That's how I got this position. And with the current company, Udora, it happened the same way. Like, you must be passionate about what you're doing. If you don't have this feeling of, I really believe that people need it and I really believe this is a good cause, I don't think you need to be an entrepreneur or build anything, because it often gets so freaking difficult when you're overworking, when you need sometimes to open your laptop on the weekend, or when there is something that needs to be done yesterday, you know? And if you do not care, if you think that, it's actually not such a good thing, you would never get there. So you must be in love with the product that you're doing. Then you would be working on it constantly. You would be updating it, because CPO needs to think like a user. First of all, you need to think, okay, like, would I use this product? What else do I need to improve here? And then you watch around yourself and you see how other people are using it. Is their opinion the same as mine? And being observant is very important for any CPO, I must say. And then you're good to go. And if somebody is about to start their product, then I think you should just do it. And today is so freaking simple. At least give it a try. What if it's gonna work, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. Just give it a try. Get out there and see if it works.
Yeah, but give it a valid try. Because if you just build it and you never even shared it to your friends, that's not a valid test. You cannot say that nobody needed it, or, oh my god, my startup failed. You haven't even tried yet. So make sure that you did your best, at least, like, and give yourself a deadline. That's what we talked before about.
Yeah, I like that. Give a deadline.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of the things that I found that whenever I give myself a deadline for anything is it puts pressure on me to get it done, because you don't want to be late. You don't want to, and also being, like you said, share with your friends, because you have somebody to hold you accountable to the thing that you've created. And without that accountability, sometimes you just don't do it. You don't put in the correct effort.
absolutely. That actually, even psychologically speaking, it helps a lot dealing with emotions, because it's very scary to launch something.
Yes.
Because this fear of rejection, of like, because it is a fear of rejection. Like, if you build something, you created something, you're a creator, you put your heart into it, and then you see that people are rejecting your product, they don't like it. It's freaking sad, and you need to have people who surround you, who's going to be cheerleading you, but also giving you valid feedback. Because if people just say, oh yeah, this is a great idea, but they actually don't like it, in fact, or just like your grandma saying, oh yeah, you're doing so well, this is not the valid feedback,
Yeah. 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 You definitely have to have somebody that's willing to tell you the truth.
Exactly. I think tech communities help the best in it. Like, I've been surrounded by tech communities, I don't know, like, since forever already. And that was always the most beneficial thing for me as an entrepreneur, as the person who works in the company. Because when you're surrounded with the people who are also building something, you kind of feel better, because you're all in the same boat. Like, let's gonna try it. And that helps, in fact.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's good to have that community that you can bounce ideas off of, work together, and that will hold you accountable and be honest with you. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
This has been a lot of fun, a good conversation. How can people learn more about the things that you're doing, connect with you online, and order some flowers or some gifts.
So order flowers you can on Udora. We have an iOS application, Android application. We have a website, udora.com. Just go. You can send flowers in over 50 markets and 50 countries. So that's an easy way. If you'd like to get in touch with me personally, I have my LinkedIn. You can just find me by my name and the company. So that's probably going to be written below in the podcast. So it's going to be easy. And I get a lot of messages on my LinkedIn daily. I love to chat with people. So welcome.
Awesome. I'll link that too in the show notes at geekleader.com so people can go there and click through to LinkedIn and to Udora. Again, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was a great chat.
Hope you enjoyed the show. Please go to geekleader.com to learn more about what this guest is up to. Click on their links and connect with them online. I would also greatly appreciate it if you could leave me a rating and review in Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to the show. And make sure you've subscribed if you haven't already. And if you feel so inclined, you can leave me a tip by going to geekleader.com/tip.